Hey guys, Nate Bailey here with Barebow Hunters, and started a YouTube series where I'm going through and trying to help people get into traditional bow hunting. Okay, not so much about the shooting aspects. I'll teach you the way that I shoot and the way that I like to hunt and the way that I do things for shooting, but it's not really to teach you how to get into traditional archery if you want to just go to the range. This is about bow hunting, and all my bows are set up for that. You see the bows behind me. These bows have kind of been retired because I'm a hunter first, and these bows are not as, for me, they don't work as well in the brush. So I set up my bows the way that I like them, and I'll show you why I do. If you're hunting different areas, these bows have different, they have some advantages. This bow has some advantages, so I'm going to show you all that stuff. But before we get started, I really want to go over some philosophy about bow hunting, okay? This bow right here is my grandfather's. He bow hunted all of his life. He never rifle hunted that I know of. And so I inherited his bow, but it was guys like that set up these bow seasons. We don't just have these bow seasons. There were guys fighting for them, trying to get out there, and there were a lot of naysayers saying, oh man, those bows won't kill animals, and you guys shouldn't be doing this and that. So I want to go over just a little bit of what a bow season is and who set it up, and what I think a bow season is, because that plays all into why we get into traditional bow hunting or bow hunting in itself. So first things, these guys set up bow seasons with these bows. Okay, when all the bow seasons were set up, they were set up with regular, back then it wasn't called traditional bows. This was bow hunting. Okay, nobody had compounds yet, so they set up the seasons to allow these guys to get out, to allow us, we still have the same seasons, to get out during the rut, get out when the animals are a little bit easier to go after. So one of the things that I see now going on is we've taken that idea and we've made it to where it's getting easier and easier and easier to go after the animals in these seasons, and that is concerning to me. I'm not bashing on compounds here, but it is concerning when I see new sites that come out that have holographic pins in them that you just push a button and you can tell how far the animal is, and then you push another button and then it sets your pin to the right distance. We're making this really getting easier and easier and easier, and if we keep doing that, our seasons are going to go away, or they're going to lessen. And me personally, I'd rather just spend more time in the woods. So and I think that's what bow seasons were set up for, is to spend the time in the woods and be close to the animals. So when I look at the technology coming out, there comes a point in time when we got to ask ourselves, how far are we willing to take it? Are we willing to take the technology to the point where it's going to make it easier, and then we'll have more draw units and shorter seasons? Is that what we're after? Or should we leave it? Should we place a limit on technology, and then that way we have the longer seasons and the better seasons in the ruts and things like that? So I think that's a question that each camp has to ask. With the traditional guys, we got to understand that there's compound bows out there. My kids shoot compound, so I'm not a basher of compound bows. I am just saying that there are some things technology-wise that may be hurting the sport. One of the places that I hunt is now a draw hunt because the success rate was just too good there. So that's the philosophy we got to ask ourselves when we're getting into traditional bows. Another thing that we have to understand when we get into traditional bows is we're not elitist. We're not better than anybody else. That's ridiculous. I know some compound guys that are all about getting as close as they can, and I know some compound guys that they shoot 100 yards and 150 yards at practice and would never ever shoot that on an animal, which is actually cool. I shoot it, 50 yards with this thing, and there's no way I'd ever shoot at an animal at 50 yards. I'm not that good, and not only that, the animal would probably move out of the way 3 times before the arrow got there. But so I'm not bashing on the compounds. It's not about that. What it is about is how we approach bow hunting. Okay, so if you're getting into this, understand that you're getting into this for the right reason. Okay, and I'm going to go over a couple of those reasons right now about why I got into traditional bows. I was always kind of into them. I couldn't afford a fancy compound when I first got into bow hunting, and there were used recurves in all the used secondhand stores. So I got a used recurve, and we made tree stands, climbing tree stands in high school shop, and my brother-in-law at the time and I put these tree stands out, and we'd sit on rabbit trails around my house, and we shoot jackrabbits out of the tree stands. So that's how I got into it. Then I started putting 2 and 2 together. I started thinking, and I told you guys this in another video, that I could kill an elk with the traditional bow. Why don't I start doing that? So or with a bow, not a traditional bow. And I kind of fell into the idea that, well, these are good for rabbits, but they're not good for elk. So I got the compound bow, and you guys know what happened with that. Well, next year I picked up my traditional bow again, and I've never gone back. So the biggest thing that we have to understand if we're getting into this is this does not make you any better of a bow hunter. What makes you a better bow hunter is the limit that you place on yourself on stalking and calling and those trying to get close. That's what makes you a better hunter. I don't care if you're packing a rifle. I don't care if you're packing a pistol. I know some pistol guys out there up in Kodiak, Alaska. There were some pistol guys that prided themselves on getting close to Kodiak bears with their pistols. I'm all about that, man. That's good stuff. So it's not about the equipment. It's about what we're thinking. It's about our philosophy on how we're entering the woods, and I think that's a big deal. And when it comes to bow hunting, it was set up as a short range sport. And I'll tell you what, you're cheating yourself if you take it to be a long range sport. So let's talk a little bit about why I chose the traditional bow. Well, part of the problem is you're introducing variables with a compound into. So if you keep it at that short range sport, like I was talking about, and I don't get me wrong, I know the guys out there shooting 60 yards at antelope, and they're doing real well. They're killing the animals and stuff, and some of those spots I just couldn't hunt with this thing. I understand that, that, and I get it, you guys, I get it. But what I do is I hunt blacktails out of a tree stand, and I hunt elk, and I hunt bears, and turkeys, and all those things don't require me to have to shoot, over 25 yards. If you can't get within 25 yards of an elk, you're not having the fun that you could be having. If you can't get within 25 yards of a bear, you're not having the fun that you could be having. I mean, I'm serious about that, okay? And that's what bow hunting was set aside for, is that kind of getting that close. And I tell you what, if you haven't done it yet, if you keep shooting your animals at 40 or 45, try getting a little closer. Just for you. Try getting a little closer. It'll raise the hair on your neck. It's awesome. It's the best thing in the world. That's the reason we get into it. So, with that said, and that's my philosophy about bow hunting. With that said, why would you introduce all these variables of the compound bow? I have friends that showed me a sight just yesterday, and he was and there's a little level on the bottom of it, and I'm thinking, and I was trying to get it level in the package, of course. So on the bow, it's going to be a lot easier. And I'm thinking to myself, that would drive me completely batty. So now I got to pull up my bow, and I can't move it, can it sideways, and then I got to look through a peep sight, got to line that up, got to line up the sight itself, and then I got to line up the pin. Now I got to line up a bubble too. How many things just to get sighted? How many things is that? And if I'm shooting things at under 25 yards, what am I doing to myself? I'm creating all sorts of problems that I got to deal with. There's 5 right there, right? There's 5 problems I got to deal with right there. Hunting, we try to create things that take that variables out of the of it. That's the big thing. You know, I'm trying to take these variables out. I learned my elk calls, so I know what he's saying to me. So that's one variable I take out. I check the wind. I'm beating the wind everywhere I go. That's another variable I've taken out. So all these things that we're trying to take out, and then by picking up a bow, we've just introduced that many more. Now add a what do they call it? A release. Add a release to that. So there's another one. There's 6 variables there now, and then add every cam and bolt on that thing, and rest. The rest, I didn't even think about the rest. Now you put all those variables in for the same job that this thing will do at 25 yards. I would venture to say that most people that are shooting a compound now can shoot one of these very accurate. After they get it set up, after they get a little knowledge, after they work on their form, within a year, I bet you they could shoot these very proficient. And I'm talking proficient as killing wise. And, you know, killing wise is that. Unless you're shooting a turkey. But they could shoot one of these proficiently within 25 yards. As much as they can in their compounds. Now, with that said, I do understand that the compound makes it a quicker learning curve. You can get out in the woods quicker, and I'm all about that too. My son shot his first deer with his compound this year, and I couldn't be happier. So that's my philosophy, guys. That's what I'm saying. When you're getting into this, I'm saying that you could get into this. You just got to keep your shots close. Traditional Bowhunter's got a great shirt. Traditional Bowhunter magazine. If you haven't gone there, you need to go there. They got a great shirt. It says, "Get closer, shoot traditional." I think is one. So anyhow, that is the philosophy. Come into it with that philosophy. Don't come into it thinking I'm going to do the same thing that with the compound bow, or with this bow that I'm doing a compound. That's not it. Get closer. Get closer. That is the key. And you'll love your bow hunting a lot more. Alrighty. So, with that said, why don't you guys please, if you could you subscribe? There should be a subscribe button down here somewhere. Invite your friends. Tell them come over, check this out. You know, if you want a T-shirt, we got T-shirts over at barebowhunters.com. We got a podcast going on over there. All this stuff is so we could bring bow hunting, barebow hunting, to you guys in a way that you guys actually feel like you could actually do it. That's my goal here. Is I want you guys to feel like you could actually do this. You could be proficient at it. Of course, it's going to be, you're going to have to just limit yourself to ranges. But so go over to barebowhunters.com, subscribe here. It's one here. Go to our group, Barebow Hunters group on Facebook. Hit me up on Instagram, Barebow Hunter on Instagram, and a lot of times I'll tell you what's going on the YouTube channel through Instagram, so I don't have to upload it. So go over there, friend me. Please, just hope you guys enjoy this. We'll get the next video going for you here pretty quick.